Now when me want to come out of your presence for when your presence is the regular. It's motivation and memoirs with Ivory.
Welcome back over on this side. I am so pleased and privileged to share with you or to introduce to you my next guest. I did promise that I was going to have some men on this platform sharing also, their life, their purpose, his praise. My guest has been serving in the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 13 years. He was our 2011 top cop. He has worked in several charities and also a number of stigmatized schools in the corporate area. In 2015, he and some of his colleagues, they went on the Adopt a School initiative. Out of this came a brainchild, which now is called the National Cadet Force. Here he serves as the chief commandant. He continues to pour into the lives of cadets, girls and boys, not only teaching them about discipline and self-respect and all of that, but also teaching them that education is very important. He is a husband and a biological father, but he also fathers so many other children across the school network. He has served in chaplaincy a number of years. And then right in the pandemic, when he thought he had his hands full, other responsibilities were entrusted to him when he became a pastor alongside other pastors at the Deliverance Full Gospel Church of God. He also serves in the St. Catherine community, well, I should say he now serves in that area, in the arm of the Community Safety and Security branch of the JCF, where they go into schools and they ensure that, safety and security are in the schools. Not only that, but they mentor, boys and girls, pouring into lives. He does scouts training and a whole bag of other things. My guest today is Corporal Pastor William Graham. Welcome, sir, to Motivations and Memoirs. It is just a pleasure and a privilege to have you.
Thank you very much, Ivorika. Thank you for the introduction. I am a bit taken back. I don't think that it comes as a surprise. Maybe one or 2 points I'll raise though that would be surprising if that was true. But I guess that's just how it is. But thank you. I really do appreciate the work that you're doing yourself, sharing countless stories.
Yes.
Of persons who have touched many lives. I am pleased, with every bit of work that we do in ministry, because that's what really is going to impact a life. I began in ministry sometimes back. Can't even remember the year so much. It could have been 96, 97, but it's somewhere around that time, somewhere around age 11, I got baptized. So I think I spent the greater part of my life in church, in Christendom, and it's really good to sit here, and I think this is the second time I'm hearing someone reading out a few things about me that I'm kind of taken back. So wait, I think I did a few things in life.
Absolutely. And not only that, but as I was looking over, all that and mark you, there may be several other things that are not listed here. But when I looked over it, I'm saying, but this sounds like one old man, like somebody went about a long time. But it goes to show how important it is for us to understand purpose and understand it fast.
Definitely. And maybe I don't fully understand it yet, so one of the things that I get up each day though, and I say to myself, if you're taking steps in the right direction, even if it's small steps, you're still on the right path.
Absolutely.
And that is something that I say, that is something that I practice, that is something that I preach, you know what I mean? Taking small steps in the right direction. So even if you don't know everything about where you're going, even if you do not know all the right moves to make, once you're in the direction which you should be heading, once you're on that path, just continue to keep moving forward. You know, just continue to keep doing your good. So it's, as I said, back in 90, and it's a strange story as to how I actually got baptized and start going to church. I don't really say it like everybody else, becoming Christian and filled with the Holy Spirit. I got baptized and started going to church when I was 11. But just before that, when I was about 9, I was going to church, you know what I mean? And it's like all hell broke loose, you know, my family broke up, my mom and my dad separated, and it was just one chaos. I went into smoking, cursing. I mean, it was just chaos for me. During that same time, I had a terrible incident. I couldn't call it an accident. I'd have to call it an incident. I was in a tree and I slipped from the tree and I got a serious punch up. It's a stick, punctured everything from my lower abdomen all the way into my intestine there. You know what I mean? And I passed out. You know what I mean? I passed out. It took many years for me to hear maybe the best part of the story. The best part of the story came about a week before I got married, which was so many years later. My teacher, who is a good friend of Miss Henry, big up yourself, good friend of the surgeon, said to me that the surgeon told her that had the stick gone like to the left, to the right, or just up a little bit more, I would have been a complete goner. You know what I mean? I would not miss death. And when I say I would not miss death, I almost died still because I passed out, and I would have passed out another 2 more times in my life. Complete blackout, don't know anything. But I'm saying that to say that during just that little window between the time 9 when I'm going to start going to church and 11 when I got baptized, a lot of stuff happened, including, as I said, a complete breakdown of my family. My mom and my dad separated, and it was just chaos, like literally chaos. And I don't know why I'm still alive, but I am going to give God thanks that from that day, you know what I mean, he would have had purpose. He would have had a reason for sparing my life. And I am grateful for that. And I am going to continue to do good with the life that I have. As long as I have it, I'm going to continue to do good. So in 2000, not 2000, when I was 11, 1996, going 1997, I got baptized. My mom and my dad, they came back together, thank God. And we started going back to church. And I got baptized, strangely enough, again, on the afternoon when I was going to get baptized. So I got baptized in the night. So on the afternoon when I was going to get baptized, I was coming from school, and there was this girl. I think people believe that she doesn't have, her head is not so right. You know what I mean? I wasn't talking to her. I was just standing there, and out of nowhere, she swung this igloo that she had in her hand, and she swung it right into my stomach. And I started to see stars and everything. I don't block out, because it's like she's, you know, those persons who, I couldn't say she has Down syndrome or so, but could be, you know what I mean? But she was there standing. As I said, I wasn't paying her any mind. And that was the evening when I was going to get baptized. And I thought about it over the years, you know, as to what each thing represents, because everything in your life represents something, you know, why would these things happening? And so I went on and I got baptized, and I continued from there to understand a little bit at a time Christianity. I did well in Sunday school. Persons always say, looking back, you know, I knew you were going to do well. I knew that you would have I knew that you would have grown. I knew that you would have But then in Sunday school, I did not so much find the passion for teaching. I just had a passion for going to church. It was almost a place that I just find comfortable going because I wasn't going to party. I didn't go to a lot of trips for school. My parents didn't have a lot of money to send me to those places. So I just find church a comfortable place to go. And I was not arrogant enough to say, because my parents are not going to send me to a trip or a concert or so, I'm not going to go to church. I've heard a lot of these things nowadays, but then I wasn't thinking that way. I was just thinking that here's an opportunity that I get and I am taking full advantage of it. I was always literally comfortable going to church, and I would have spent, those early years, and I think that was a good foundation that I built. Now, to some an occasion that stands out in my Christian walk, I remember we used to go to the altar. We used to hear about the filling of the Holy Spirit. We need the Holy Spirit to guide us, to lead us, and we need the filling of the Holy Spirit. So I remember going to the altar just like everybody else, but it just didn't work out for me. You know what I mean? And sometimes again, whenever you are guided a particular way, whenever you are on a particular journey with God, it's like things are not going to work out the way it works for everyone. And I find that going to the altar just never worked out for me. They would ask me to say things, nothing never worked out. But I remember within the same time, there was another person at the church, a minister, that was teaching us to pray. So we must have prayer meetings at home and so. I was like about 13, you know what I mean, very young still, but I started leading my family, my entire family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, whoever would join me in prayer meeting. Yeah, and I start leading them into prayer. And I remember one night while I was praying at home, I just could not get up off my knees. Like I literally could not get up. So I finished praying and I started praying again. And if, after you'd say 15 minutes, you'd get up again off my knees, but I still couldn't get up and I continued praying. And that night, without no coaching, without no teaching, without no anybody telling me what to say, I started speaking in tongues. And that night, I was walking through the entire rooms in the house. The only room that I didn't walk through was the room that is occupied by my father and my mother, their bedroom. But I walked through the entire house, speaking. There was no, the whole experience, I was in control, but not in control, if you understand what I mean. Mm-hmm. I could have walked freely, but I couldn't stop speaking until until I get an indication to stop. Mm-hmm. And the indication was not coming from my mom. It was not coming from my dad. It was not coming from anybody in the house. I was just speaking freely. I was saying some stuff that I didn't know what I was saying, you know what I mean? But I know I was speaking in tongues, and I know I was moving right through the house. And I think that was the first major sign for me as an individual that there was something there, there was something special about me. And from that day, I think I had this deep passion, you know what I mean, for wanting to be more in the kingdom. I just wanted to see what was the next thing that God wanted to do for me. So I think that to me, was the day that I could say I truly got baptized. Yes.
How did your parents were separated for not very long, but why didn't you, based on popular sayings that children from broken homes give a lot of trouble, they get in trouble, they do all sorts of things. How did that affect you when your parents broke up?
It was terrible, I'll tell you, I said that maybe 1.5 years was chaos. But the good thing is that we're not on our own. And I could say this to any young person out there: you're never on your own, you're never by yourself. Somebody's always watching over you. And if, I'm going to use this word, if providing that everybody has purpose because God made us all in his image, after his likeness. If we have purpose, God always leaves somebody to watch over you. And you would have heard me call out the name Miss Henry earlier. Miss Henry is my grade 5 teacher. She teaches at the Point Hill Primary School. Then it was like Lee's All Age or something like that. But she teaches at the Point Hill Primary School. And I think by now she's like vice principal there, Miss Cynthia Henry. Now, wonderful woman. Within the time when my parents separated, I was living with my father alone and my brothers. But my father went and spoke to this teacher, Miss Henry, and tell her that, he is alone. He's the one taking care of us. It was 4 of us at the time and things like that. And immediately, without even knowing what was taking place, it's like she pulled me underneath her wings and she was watching over me, like literally watching over me. It's like I could not do anything wrong that she would not know. It's like she's teaching maybe 40 students, but that there was a special place in her heart as she watched over me. That I remember when I passed my common entrance, she said, I knew you were going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, she was so confident in me. She had so much faith. She had so much belief in that. Here's a little lad. And I had that I was the smallest in the class. You know what I mean? Like in grade 5, I was weighing 60 pounds. So you can do the math, out here listening, you can do the math. 60 pounds at grade 5. I was the smallest, shortest, in the class. And she just had that confidence. There was one other person that was shorter than me in school. I don't think he was in that class, but I was the shortest, smallest in my class at the time. You know what I mean? And it was not any birth defect or anything. I was just little, and she watched over me. And I think that was how I escaped being. But it doesn't mean that I escaped it fully. When I went on to high school now, I had a serious problem. And the other day I was talking about it. I just don't know where that problem came from at the time. Now that I look back, I think I have a better understanding as to where the problem came from. But I just could not avoid getting into fights when I was in high school. So I was doing well in school, but I was getting into fights. I was getting into fights so much that I remember having a vision where it's like, myself speaking back to myself, you understand, and the Lord there speaking to me as well. And it's like the conversation was, if he, as if it's not me, you know what I mean? If he was of me, he would not be fighting. And you know what I mean? When I get out of the vision and I'm looking at it, I'm saying this is directly speaking to me, you know what I mean? I cannot be of God and fighting, and like I'm literally like I was fighting like every week. I would be in maybe 2, 3, 4 fights, like every week. I'm not kidding. And it got bad. It really got bad. That one of the time my vice principal came to one of my class and he was like, William is brilliant. He's brilliant. But he loves to, and he started doing this, and it got so bad till I think it was grade 9, 10, I had my last fight. And I think that was the worst one. And I believe that was enough. I couldn't continue that kind of life. I had to just break free from that stronghold. That was a major stronghold. I had to break free from it. That would have crippled me. That would have destroyed me forever. That would have ruined everything that God would have planned for me if I had continued down that route. And as I said, I knew where that came from because I grew up in a very abusive home, in an abusive setting, you know what I mean? So I knew where that came from, you know what I mean? I grew up with bad word cursing, ganja smoking, violence, you know what I mean? That's the kind of nature of the setting that I grew up in, you know what I mean? And so I didn't have a way of speaking peace then. you know, mean, I would have jumped to say anything that is bad. You know what I mean? I just did curse bad word. And I'm serious. In high school, I just did not curse bad word. Even now, I don't curse bad word. You know what I mean? I grew up, maybe I can count on one finger, one hand rather, the amount of time. And I have 6 fingers, right? But I can count on one hand the amount of time I repeated an indecent language. I just did not use indecent language. You know what I mean? Because I grew up in a home where my mom, from a young age, I never heard my mom cursing an indecent language. And I think I kind of wanted to model her behavior so much that I just don't use indecent language. I don't use profane language. So that to me was what happened and how I got out of fighting. So I was in fights until about grade 9, and that is when I break free from it. And you know, what I mean, I think that's also when preaching started to take off for me. I started preaching more and more during those early time. I think I was like about 14 then, 14 going 15.
So you were preaching now in church?
Yes, I was preaching in church. It was good enough in those young days. You know, we got a scripture and we tried to make the most of it. You know what I mean? More and more people were gravitating to what I was saying. And I believe that I was now finding something that I could identify with. In school, I never do religious education in school. Don't ask me how or why. I never do religious education. However, and when I said do it, I didn't do it as a subject. However, for me, even the students in my class would have gone on to do religious education. For me, I still tell everyone I am going to be a pastor. Whenever someone asks what I want to be in life, my first response was, I want to be a pastor. That was always at the forefront. And just to say how it happened, I remember I saw my pastor. She was a female, and it's like the moment I saw her, is like, and that is the head pastor for the Deliverance for Gospel Church of God. She is now deceased. May her soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Reverend Earl Fox. The moment I saw her, it's like I knew that is the kind of life that I wanted to live. The life of a pastor, the life of someone who lives righteous, you know, someone who seeks holiness, someone who seeks God, who love God, who wants to serve God. It's like that was the life that I wanted to live immediately in seeing her.
In high school, all right. So going back to the fights, were they caused because you were being teased as a Christian, or outside of that? Because I know Christians go through hell, so to speak. Well, back in my days, at least. As Christians, you get a lot of teasing because I think the other students want to see what you're made up of, and so they'll pull and pull and pull to get you. Was that your experience?
Not at all.
Okay.
I was then, nobody would really tease me. And I'm serious, nobody would do that. You know what I mean? Because I was so short-tempered that nobody would do that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But as I said, I just did not have any conflict resolution skills. And I believe that out of experience, the solution to conflict was to fight. And I just would not ask a teacher, would not go to a teacher and say, I'm in this problem, or as I said, it would have destroyed me if I had continued. I just know that. And I am grateful that I stopped. As I said, it got bad. It got bad.
So you transitioned through you completed high school, and then what happened?
All right, as I move into grade 10, grade 11, again, my teacher, Miss Henry, was still there for me. he would always follow up, find out how I am doing, how I am doing in school, what is life like, how I'm progressing, what I mean? And I could not afford to disappoint her, what I mean? There were not many other persons who would have been looking out to find out how I am doing, what I mean? There were not many other persons who would have believed in me, and I would use this to say to persons out there: we have to believe in people and make them know that we believe in them. We have to
Absolutely.
embody confidence in other people, not just in ourselves. What I mean? We have to, and you would have seen that logo in the background, National Cadet Force, which I'm sure we're going to talk about it at some point, through this interview. But we have to see in other people what we would want to see in ourselves. What I mean? We have to see good in other people. We have to fight for other people. We have to go out there and work hard to make other people enjoy success, not just ourselves. What I mean? And so that teacher is like she was always there looking out for me and hoping that I will do well, and hoping that I am good, hoping that I do well. And so she's always there. And so as I progressed through the CXCs now, I couldn't disappoint her. And I remember going back to her and telling her how my CXCs were going. And during that same time, she said, all right, I'm going to ensure that I help you to pay for subjects as well. And she helped me, and I paid for subjects, and I ensured that I didn't disappoint her. As I said, I passed them. So as I passed through high school, leaving school at 17, I believe at that stage now, somewhere at that particular stage, for the first time, I went to preach at my headquarter church. You know what I mean? And that to me was the point where it's like the point of no return, where I'm saying, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want. It's like I can feel myself preaching. I can feel myself sharing. You know what I mean? There was this energy, there was this passion that, as a youngster, that I just felt, you know what I mean? But it would not manifest itself then, you know what I mean? For me, ministry was not going to be preaching in the church alone. Ministry was not going to be that. But I thought for myself that this is where it was going to be. And that is when I get, when I call it the surprise of my life.
Right.
Yes, that's where I get the surprise of my life. But I continued doing my stuff. I went on to get myself a diploma in business. I went on to working at places like Atlas Security, Registrar General's Department. And as I continued, and I started working I left out one, Electoral Office of Jamaica. And then as I work at these places, I recognized that there was something that was likable about it. I could not say what it was, but I realized that there was something likable about me, that persons would want to talk to me. And within that time, I started to realize that it seemed like I can have a conversation. You know what I mean? It seems like maybe I can, sit down and have a conversation. That was like it, And when I got the opportunity to join the JCF now, with all of that happening, I joined the JCF. And how I joined the JCF was another interesting story, as my brother would have gone in, did the police exam, and he failed the first time. And he said he wanted to have confidence going in that exam room. And he said to me that if I am there in the exam room with him, he's going to pass. And I said, all right, fine. I put myself together. I got my documents, and I went, and I sat the exam with him. I passed, he passed. And so that's how I joined the JCF. But immediately as I joined the JCF, I made a commitment to myself. I made a commitment to myself that I would not sit back and not complete the studies that I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And so that is when I start going back through the list of schools that are in Kingston. And that is when I came upon JTS.
And
that's where we met.
Right.
Oh, that's the right part of the story. That's
That's
where
where
the
we were.
library come in.
Yes.
Yes, you know what I mean. So I decided that this is where I was going to study seriously. And when I look at the course of study now, to put the two together, here is it that I was loving pastoral, and here is it that person realized that I can have a good conversation. And I said, I'm going to do theology and counseling. And so, hence, that was the discipline that I chose. And it brought me to the place where, you know what I mean, things just started changing my life.
The breaking down to build up.
Yeah. So, all right. So the changes I'm speaking of now though, is that within that time, there was an award, you know, the Special Concept of the Year Award, 2011. And I entered, and it was a tough time. It was, I'm not kidding, it was a tough time. I entered that award, and that's how I'm now going to meet all of these people that I want to tell you about. So I entered that award. Mrs. Cameron, principal for Clancarty High School, was a part of the board or the panel. I was doing those interviews along with chaplains from the ISCF, JCF, and working with them through those interviews. Now, I just didn't know how it was going to work because it's competitive. A lot of persons in this interview. I think then I was like about 20 something, 25, 26. So long now that I'm forgetting. But just understand, please. I was around about that age, 25, 26. It was 26. And with all of that, I was taking place. With all that was taking place, I went in and I did my interview, and I came out on top. And I remember speaking to one of the panelists post the celebration and everything. And they said, William, there was no other person that could have won. And I just can't understand what that means. You know what I mean? Even to this day. But I believe that when God is leading you into a place, you know what I mean, you just need to show up, you understand, represent, and
he does the rest.
he will do what he has to do.
Absolutely.
So that was the term that you used, that there was no other person could have won. And so out of that, I started visiting schools and speaking to students. I was starting this kind of little mentorship program, trying to understand what this was like. So that was all the way in 2012. It is in that same year I got married, you know what I mean? It is in that the year before I got promoted, you know what I mean? So things were changing, you know what I mean? I started working at the chaplains, you know, and I find that for the first time I realized that ministry was no longer the church building, you know, where you go inside of the place and stand up and preach. And you find out that ministry was now you're doing all of this. But in my heart though, I really want to go back into the church and preach, you know what I mean? Still in the church, not preaching as often as I would want to, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Still at school studying with you. Up by JTS there, you know what I mean? We're all there studying and doing our stuff and things like that, you know what I mean? And it so happened that all that was happening there is going to transition into that logo that you're seeing in the background. So while I am there doing all of that, it so happened that the ISCF was going to collapse. And as the ISCF collapsed, I was transferred to Mobile Reserve from chaplains. And when I was transferred to Mobile Reserve now, Sir Gauntlet, Inspector Craig, Sergeant Dawes, then Corporal Witter, now Inspector, and several other persons from a team we call Company 3 decided that we're going to do this project over for Labor Day. And I remember literally write the project, literally write the program, and the program would have had the repainting of the school, the motivating kids, mentoring them, and what we do to do it, and I literally write the program. And I remember when Sir Gauntlet saw the program, he immediately bought into the idea, and we went across to Clancarty High School, and there we started this idea. We shared with the principal that this is what we want to do for the school. Even though I was going there before doing this small thing, now all of what I was doing from 2012 is now going to blossom into something beautiful now in 2015. And the moment the Sir Gauntlet shared this now with the ACP then of Mobile Reserve, what was going to do. I mean, it just started to blossom. It just started to grow out of its. It's like it burst its shell immediately. The ACP, now deceased, Winchoy Budu got involved. The Member of Parliament for the area, Mr. Robinson, Julian Robinson, I believe that's his name. He got involved. The Commissioner of Police got involved at the time. Commissioner Williams. Williams is his name. Not remembering the first name right now, but he also got involved, and immediately we had a major launch of the Mobile Reserve Adapter School initiative, and we went on to make out of that initiative what I believe is a major transformational move for schools within that space. And it's out of that initiative that the National Cadet Force was given birth to. And from there, in 2015, I think his name is Carl Williams. That's his name, Commissioner Carl Williams, Dr. Carl Williams.
Right.
And it's out of that initiative that was birthed the National Cadet Force. And we since then has gone into not just Clancarty High School, but the Holy Trinity High School, thanks to the team there, the Dunham Park Technical High School, thanks to the team there. We have worked with the YMCA, and we have worked with so many other places. And as I said, within the same time, I was still, I had gone from and got back into chaplaincy. So the whole idea of ministry for me started to blossom, not to be only something that I would go and stand in front of, behind a pulpit and in front of a congregation to preach. But I was learning to go there, interact with people, help those persons who are sick, visit the persons who were in the hospital, and at the same time ministering to the youth, guiding the youth, impacting life in the school, touching life, and that to me was like something that I even looking back, I did not feel the pressure of it. I just knew that I was just doing that. I didn't even feel like it was ministry. I just know that it was important for me to do at the time, and I was just touching lives.
And out of that, you have not only touched lives, but you have seen improved lives. I mean, children who probably parents themselves gave up on, and you've witnessed transformation. I like the fact that you say you don't feel the pressure. Because one thing I understand about purpose and about doing what you're called to do. Somebody asked me a couple weeks ago to explain how I do it and how I know, how someone knows that what they're doing is so and so. And I said, when I thought of it, I thought how to answer the person. And I said, it's like breathing. It's natural. It's in you, and it just comes out. That's the only explanation, feasible explanation I could give to the person. After trying to say this and that, I sum it up. I say it's natural, because you have 1,000,001 things to do, but doing that particular thing or those things to develop others, to show others that, listen to me, man, changes can come. Listen to me, man, there can be better. You can do better. As you say, you're not feeling no pressure because you know that this, so they say you're made for this.
Yeah, man, there's absolutely no pressure in doing what I do. I maybe the only thing that I feel like there's a space, there's a open space for that kind of ministry, and I feel like I wish that I could have maybe a little bit more allowance with time so that I can really impact a little bit more. I'm not getting that. The time is not on my side so that I can truly reach out, to the many kids. But when I talk about the great need to have persons who have garnered experience in life, persons who have won battles, persons who have overcame obstacles. These are the persons now that and are making positive runs for themselves. These are the persons now who I believe can help other persons. And if you remember when I start by saying we're taking small steps in the right direction. That is one of my mantra, taking small steps in the right direction. So even though I did not know what was going to turn out or how this program was going to turn out or if it was going to do as well as all I wanted to know at the time was that I was doing the right thing, saying, with the intention of achieving the right outcome at the end, helping people, touching lives, changing lives. And as I said, while I'm doing that, I was called back to, because I had gone to Mobile Reserve, and I was after that called back to Chaplains. And this time at Chaplains, it had blossomed me into this, for me calling it, I'll call it, but it kind of blossomed me into this, what I call almost like a beautiful person, man. So I was no longer as fearful as I used to be, because that was kind of one of my weakness in the past. I had this fear. I wouldn't say it's a fear like I can't do, but I think it was a fear that was mixed with anger. You know what I mean? Because I remember telling you that I had a lot of fight, got into a lot of fight in high school. So to crush the fighting, I almost developed a natural fear. It's like I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? The guy who would have got into a fight within a second, whenever something comes up, he's crushed, he's down there, he's not doing anything. So it's like I developed a major fear, you know what I mean? That was now plaguing me, you know what I mean? Like literally plaguing me. And coming back to chaplains for the second stint, I realized that the fear was going away. You understand? The fear was going away. And I started to work even harder to get rid of the fear. And if I were to say it to anyone how to get rid of fear, I can say the only thing that can truly replace fear is love. You know what I mean? Nothing else can truly replace fear. And I believe that my fear was born out of hunger. A short-tempered person who is filled with hunger inside, like literal hunger. I realized that within that time I have to be asking God. I said, God, cleanse me from this deep-seated anger that is inside of me. Like I maybe I'm trying to explain it more than I can, but it was there. I knew it was there. I knew the anger was right there, seated, and I'm saying, God, empty me of the anger, empty me of the anger. And how we understand in ministry that whenever you ask God to do something, God is going to give you like a set of tools and say, okay, all right, get it done. You want it to be done? Yes, get it done. Here's a set of tools that you need. And so the tool that I need was to develop a stronger love for what I do in terms of work, love for the people around me, better relationships with the people that I'm working with, better interaction and time with the people that I'm working with. And that to me was the second stint to me that made, I would say, literally make the William that you're speaking to, the very bold William, the confident William, the William that can sit down and talk to. Yes, that is the stint, you know what I mean, where I am gaining my love and passion for what I do. You know what I mean? It's coming out like, you know what I mean, can a fountain flow from it, bitter and sweet water at the same time? And the answer is no. So the bitter water had to come out, you know, once it was in it for it to flow the sweet water. And so I believe that I'm in a more purified state. I'm in a more purified state and a state to actually flow now.
And so we have come to the end of part 1 of Corporal William Graham's story. I am blessed by his testimony. You know why? Many times we continue to do things and sometimes we forget that, you know, we threw some seeds along the way by a kind word, a kind gesture, just a pat on the shoulder. But those become seeds planted. They fall on good ground and they grow up to bear fruits. Many times we are not around, you know, to eat from those fruit, but others benefit, just as how some persons planted in the life of this young man and it bore fruit, and so he is impacting young lives. Oh my God, guys, share this story with somebody, tell them to share with somebody else, and guess what, be encouraged in whatever you're doing, even when it seems like it don't make no sense. Continue doing, keep doing good, walk good. Remember, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please remember to do so. Take care, and I will see you next week in part 2. Blessings.